Hi traders, I have spent some time looking through these charts and marked these charts up accordingly. This is the ftse. We'll start off with the ftse today. This is the ftse we're in this channel. Little peak above it here in March. Came back into it in April, and here we are, just still rising higher. I was shorting this, and I put a stop to break even, got stopped out, shorted it the second time, took some profits out of it as I managed my stop. But look how we finished. On the wrong side of this again. I've got to be careful that as we're into coming up to the middle of May, I'm looking for this market to top. Some of the indicators are suggesting we are at the top, RSI being one of them, but we keep closing higher. So I've got to be very, very careful. This market is not ready to short. I'm not losing money shorting. In fact, I'll talk about the Dow in a minute. I did short the Dow on Friday twice and made money both times. But overall, this market is still bullish. So I've got to put my short head aside and wait for clearer signals. Now, the crash highs, the 0708 crash highs are up here on the ftse at 67.45. So it's possible, 110 points off. I don't think we'll do it. I think it's unlikely. I think I need to set an alarm for that 66.72 area, that R2, because I think that might be the one that rings the bells for the short. So that's not far off. I think we need a last burst up. Now, whether it's this week, whether it's in 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know yet, but we just have to keep on high alert. Okay, let's look at the Dow. I didn't do much on Friday, but I just talk about what I did do. Now this is weaker. This has already hit R2, so the ftse hasn't hit R2, the Dow has, and we are just narrowly closing higher. So again, RSI is high, but we are not seeing any sell signals. It's hesitant, but the ATMA is catching up, so we could just move sideways and then wait for some important data during the week. There's not any major data, there is some. And then push higher. Again, the top of the channel would take us up to something like 15,250, something like that. If we pull right back, obviously, this is the main channel. This is the one we've respected. We've not breached this one. We pulled back here a few times in April, early April and late April, but we are still hanging on. A little bit extended. The ATMA is only about 100 points off. Okay, so I'm not ready to get short yet. Not swing short anyway. But one of the things I'm interested in, I am looking out for strength in the dollar, and the US dollar CAD spurted up, slammed into monthly pivot, and pulled back. Let me take these trend lines off for the moment. Okay, so US dollar CAD is, I think the US dollar CAD is a buy at 80. I think if we come back to this trend line at 80, I think that is definitely a buy. If you look at that, there's massive support there. So let me put an alarm on for that. If we look over here, let me get my pen. It will close above, will close on 100, but 80 is a major pivot level. So that's a buy at 80. You're buying under a lot of moving averages, particularly the 50 EMA, so I wouldn't give it a lot of room. In fact, you could, if you wanted, just go under that support there. You could buy 80 and just stick your stop under this level here, which would be 40. Okay, so that's a low risk, potentially good reward trade, because if that starts closing above that monthly pivot, then I think we're going to come and test this trend line up here at 102.50. So let's now look at the euro. It's a hammer-like bar down here, but I am looking for this 130.60, or the monthly pivot 130.40, 130.60 to sell. One thing you could do is we may come all the way. We may even retest that trend line. But I think we've closed. It has got a bit of a tail on it. It's a lower low than here, than the 24th of April. So we are seeing some weakness, significant weakness in the euro. So I would look to get short up there. If you take that on a swing trade basis, you need about 100. We think about 140 point stop. Pound. Now we have UK inflation, UK jobs data on Wednesday. Now I think we are in a major pennant, here on apex here, holding this trend line. And if we break that low, I think we are possibly coming all the way down to this support again. But if we hold this, what we may do for a couple of days, we may hang around here, wait till Wednesday, and then fire one way or the other. So I'm holding tight on the pound, because one of the things for the bears, we're under the 50MA, under the monthly pivot. For the bulls, we broke above the 50MA, and this is the first time we've retested it. So I mean, if we were to close above that 154.22 on Monday or Tuesday, or even Wednesday, then I think the longs could be in. The fact that we closed underneath, but there is a stronger case for the bears. We closed underneath the fib level, we closed underneath the 50MA, we closed underneath the monthly pivot, but we're just holding this trend line. So again, I would look to see if we pull back to 154. If we get a short signal, there's massive resistance up there, absolutely huge. So if you want, that is swing tradable to me. There's got all of this action here. That's why I've marked this. That's why I've got a big red mark on there. We get up there to 154.22 area, and I think then we could just roll over and come out of that, because I think if we come back and touch this again, pull back and come back and touch this again, I think it will definitely fail, and then any pullbacks we can short. And then I would look to see if that can hold down here. But US dollar, CAD and Euro US is showing dollar strength. Yen, on the other hand, is still a tear away. Now, this level up here, right up here, that we touched on Friday, is humongous. Let's look at the weekly on this then, so it's not showing it up. So look at this, the high on Friday hit the December 2004 lows, and we hit the 6th of April 09 highs. In fact, we closed above that. So we have this 101.60, we've actually closed narrowly higher than that high and that low. So we are still bullish. You see the fibs I've got on the weekly suggest that 105.30 is the target, but look at the RSI. Now if we go to the daily, I've got this as a 161 extension. Based on this big move here, we're up to 161 extension with high RSI. If we come down to parity again, that's a huge amount of support. So I would do nothing with this and see if we there's no, we've got a big gap to the 8, we've got 150 odd points to the 8 EMA, but it is so strong, and the Dow is not, there isn't a run for safe havens at the moment, although we are seeing some bounce in the dollar strength, and gold is still very weak. So these markets are, the assets are still being bought. US dollar yen is proof of that. Pound yen is right up against that trend line with high RSI, and we've hit R1. So we're in a channel. So if that pulls back to 150, well, that's a long way off, isn't it? Massive support at 154. So if we see 154 this week and the jobs data inflation comes in good, at 154 might get bought. So let me put an alarm on 154. Okay, and what's the other ones I want to look at? That's all I'm interested in the forex at the moment. The euro pound is hard to call. US dollar CAD we talked about on a pullback. Okay, that's all the key charts in for the indices and the forex. Let's talk about oil. I have to say I was absolutely gobsmacked when I came back to my screens today to see that this oil had bounced just about off that 50 EMA. Incredible. You see there is a massive amount of support down there. Let me put a support line on there. If it ever comes back, huge amount of support. You can see I've drawn a ball flag on it, but I'm concerned that we are making lower highs in the daily. It's a slightly lower close on Friday. I still think that there is a case for the bears, and I'm going to short highs in the oil to see if we can start to close lower. But if at the moment it's certainly no swing trades, so I would look for a close outside of this flag, outside of this area here, for any signal. So I certainly would not get swing trading in that one. We closed above the 8 and everything. Once we came came right down to test this area here and bounced up. I've got no recollection of oil ever doing that. It's certainly in my history with oil, my relationship with oil, I've not seen oil do that. Incredible. Something like nearly 300 points to the downside, nearly 3. So it did a 600 point round trip. Unbelievable. It just shows, I think to me, it shows how much money is slopping around these markets. The Fed are still printing money every single month at quite a rate, and the markets are just, all dips at the moment are still getting bought. So the bears have got to be very careful here. Right, I did promise you I'd talk about the Dow on Friday, because this is the only thing I did. 5-minute chart, we were doing nothing. Where are we? Oh, here we are. So the Dow opens, it plunges to 62, it goes back up to resistance. But look at that resistance up there, massive. So I got short up there in a 2-minute chart, not a 5-minute chart, but it doesn't really matter. I shorted it to there, I put the fibs on it, I got short up. Actually I got short there, they nicked my stop, so I jumped back in again. I actually took it up to 50 MA, they took up the 8 and 21 on the 60-minute chart. Daily pivot was just under here, just on the 50 EMA. And I took it off back down here. I trailed my stop, I got stopped out there. So just missed that little run before it reverses, does nothing, and flies up into the close. Okay, so I got that move. This was previous day's support, took it off. One little stop out there and then another run. So I got about, including my stop out, about 65, 70 points. Okay, right, let's go back to keep these channels on for now. Right, let's just look at, I haven't looked at gold yet, so look at gold. That is hitting, that's in a downtrend. So on Thursday hit the top of that channel and we're seeing some selling. So I'm not buying the gold. I think if we come back down here and form even a lower low or a higher low and start looking as if we're going to get bought, then I would consider it, because we might be in for a W pattern. But with dollar strength coming in, I would not be a buyer of gold. For some reason I don't like shorting gold. I don't like, no reason why you shouldn't, but it's just a personal preference. Right, soybeans are coming under the cosh with the strength of the dollar, so not doing anything with that. Orange juice, sideways. Right, bellwether stocks, and then I'll do a separate video on stocks. We have Goldman's holding up. Google, it's been on a lovely run, that is still holding up, looking vulnerable up there. Top of the channel would have that up there at 89.90. So I would consider shorting that up there. I'm going to keep an eye out on that one. Bank of America. So the market's in reasonable shape still. It's not shorting is the bottom line. So that's why I am not going to leap in feet first, certainly on the indices, but I will start shorting the euro and the pound US. Well, certainly the euro first. I'm going to leave the pound out of it for a little bit longer till we get confirmation about apex. Alright, I hope that helps, and I'll now do the stock videos for anybody who's interested in stocks.